Hello. Thank you for being here with me. Today I'm recording my synthesis and vocal readings of passages most prominent to me from Book 57 in my Book Week series, Depth Over Time, Kundalini Mahayoga, a path of transformation and liberation by Swami Khecaranatha. There is an element of our being and of our experience of being that fully participates in the various forms of challenges, tragedies, triumphs, problem solving of different degrees and timelines. And there is an element of our being that knows that we all emerged from the same mysterious, spacious source that remains within us and interconnects us. If we consider the premise that we are finite beings with an inner link to a recollection of the infinite, then we can also consider the potential that the problem solving we are engaged in, whatever it may be, could be a labyrinth of our own making, in the sense that the element of our being that resides in the original source of our energy willed it to be so. From there, we can reconsider what we are actually engaged in and what it is that we actually desire from what we are engaging in. If we truly want peace, we can prioritize it. We can examine what we are engaging in that elevates our peace and what diminishes it. We can then examine why we might engage in things that do not elevate our peace, why we might feel magnetized toward continuing to engage in those things. And this is where some incredible work can happen. This is where I think many of our keys are found. This book emphasizes the work, the commitment, the discipline that transcendence requires. And somehow, in expressing this, it takes a tone that is as tender as it is adamant. Without further ado, I'll move on toward the vocal readings. Enjoy.
Page 24 through 25. Tantric traditions describe the structure of life in terms of there being a silent ocean of infinite consciousness, Shiva, and a creative active force, Shakti, goddess, or Kundalini. Kundalini, by her very power to manifest everything in creation, also has the capacity to hide her silent source. Our experience as human beings is that we get absorbed in this manifestation, in the act of living, and forget that within the very fabric of creation there is only the oneness of God. Oneness can be experienced as the nature of who we are, and each of us has some resonance with the statement, God dwells within me as myself. However, every preconceived idea we have of this reality is incorrect, because it is only when we are immersed in the experience that we come to know the truth of it. This isn't theory. It isn't a novel someone wrote. It is the ultimate truth. And the purpose of our life is to discover that both Shiva and Shakti are present within us as ourself. Page 47. Although we hope for the best for those dear to us and wish for world peace, the reality is that our desires may not be fulfilled. We may feel that this is unfortunate, but it does not have to affect our inner state. And perhaps, if a lot more people attempted to transform themselves, there would be more chance of world peace. Let's really be responsible for what we can be responsible for. And perhaps, as the number of people we can love grows, then we can have some impact. Page 82. Our life is expressing itself perfectly from within us, but what do? we start trying to change our life based on our limited perception of what we think we need or want. Once we go inside and recognize the source of all manifestation, we immediately have the experience that our life is perfect right now, as it is. We no longer have the need to try to change anything except our own perception. If we really want to change our life, we need to change our consciousness. What is critical is our willingness and ability to reach past all of our emotions, to find a deeper awareness. We take the energy that is contracted in a particular experience of jealousy, anger, or grief and draw it back inside. And the dense, stuck energy is thereby transmuted into something that can feed our awareness and flow, further strengthening the capacity to connect with our source. Page 135. Many ancient scriptures say that we have one purpose in having this human life, and that is to gain our inner freedom. Going inside, facing ourselves, and having to genuinely transcend our issues is what produces real liberation. Isn't it amazing how some inner knowingness understands the true treasure of our existence? Yet, somehow, we do not put nearly as much of our energy into the pursuit of liberation as we do into chasing after worldly endeavors. It really speaks to the capacity of humans to live very superficially. When we deeply wish to grow and have the discipline necessary to actualize that wish, a significant shift takes place in us. We start out limited, not recognizing our divinity, but ultimately are transformed into divinity. This is a radical change that requires a deep level of commitment and surrender. It requires more than having a brief feeling of resolve or an idealistic vision. We must be committed to working, to really feeling a change inside of us. Page 188. The prize is enormous. We have the opportunity to open to a limitless possibility, to transform our mundane awareness into divine awareness. But even though divinity is always available to us, it's not that we simply contact it and immediately feel blissed out and full of light. We have to continually tune in to God. It's like dialing in a radio station. It takes a while to develop our ability to get strong, clear reception. However, if we don't make the choice to refine our inner dial at this very moment and continue to choose it every moment, even when we don't feel the clarity, there will never be a time when we find what's within us. It takes real consciousness and real effort and discipline to keep dialing away from the things that make us so miserable, but oddly enough, comfortable at the same time. Page 204. What we surrender to is an understanding that every pressure is exactly what we need in our life to find a deeper opening. It is what we need in order to continue our own work. Surrender is both the letting go of our perspective and a profound acceptance of whatever life offers us. Page 227. Our actions and reactions, mind and emotions, are just energy that arises and either gives form to something or, if we don't attach to the energy, subsides back into itself. In other words, the need to react is not inherent in the arising and subsiding. It is a form that can develop only if we attach content to the energy. If we don't attach content, then there's nothing to create tension or misunderstanding. There's simply an energy field rising and subsiding back into the still point. I'm on page 256, and this is the final passage I'll read from this book. Liberation emerges from the descent of God's grace and the ascension of the seeker's devotion. These two forces converge in stillness, allowing God in and allowing us out. In stillness, we make contact with profound grace every moment of our lives. Every moment of our lives, not just some moments. God gave us the experience of life so we can find our divinity. Being human should not negate our divinity, just as being divine does not negate our humanity. Of course, the problem is that we consistently get caught in the duality of human existence and think we are separate from God. We lose contact with unity as we identify with the dynamics of daily life, with being happy or sad. These fluctuations are natural, but we mistakenly believe that there is duality in those seeming opposites. When we enter into the sky of the heart, individuated consciousness merges with the divine, allowing for the dissolution of all dualistic misunderstanding.
Next week, I return to externalizing study of a book a week with book 59, Panic Free, the 10-day program to end panic, anxiety, and claustrophobia by Tom Bunn. I'll be putting full-time, disciplined effort into offering treasures from these books in order that Biocadence members who don't have the capacity to read at such a high volume can still benefit from the tools that these books offer. And in order that Biocadence members can more aptly determine which books relate most closely to their unique life circumstances, and thereby be more motivated to read those books thoroughly themselves. Each weekday, I'll read for 2 to 3 hours, isolate the treasures that I find in that reading, loop in what other authors have had to say about the focus topics addressed in those treasures, then package this in a comprehensive way so that Biocadence members can spend 3 to 10 minutes per day on the material that took me many hours to maneuver through. Additionally, here are some of my future plans. In September, I'll begin to offer 1 to 2 hours per week for complimentary one-on-one expansion sessions. And in 2020, my goal is to start a podcast. I've already received offers to interview some of the authors that I feature on Biocadence, and I'm ruminating over the idea of interviews with Biocadence members so that the Biocadence community can open opportunity for informed interaction. I'm taking a leap in this work rather than re-entering the traditional workforce because I've determined that it's the optimal way for me to offer my love and a synthesis of all that I study to as many people as possible. It feels exhilarating and vulnerable. The support of Biocadence means so much to me. It feels like a symbol of faith that you think there's a place for this work and that I can do it. To become a member, go to biocadence.org.